Welcome all of you truth seekers and risk takers to podcast Life the Battlefield. Today I'm going to share with you the craft of espionage. One particular element which is called social engineering. Social engineering entire modus operandi. I want you to notice that this is something what we called, while I was working intelligence, brain hacking, and how this is done. But we need to separate between what you know and what you're going to learn today. The many experts on a field will claim that social engineering is when somebody pick up the phone and say, "Hey, how are you?" and you give your password. Perhaps. That is the explanation. I'm going to talk to you today from the point of view human intelligence, which is discipline requiring communication between human to human and all arts of interrogations, investigations, information integrity checking and hacking the brain. It's a game of the cat and mouse. And why social engineering it's very deadly? I'm gonna share with you right now. It's attraction, seduction, and destruction. Those are the hallmarks of social engineering. No matter how much time, money, tools, and passwords you put in place to protect information, no one can avoid an accidental chat in shop, coffee shops, airplane, or gym. And by that point, I can confidentially assure you that all your secrets are gone forever. I never witnessed social engineering fail in my humble professional experience as a part of human intelligence operation. Never. Now, let us delve in a little deeper and remind you of a recent social engineering performance in the heart of the United States, in which principal player was Anna Chapman. Feel free to check the video here or here I created and done about Anna Chapman. Those who don't remember or don't know, there's a certain individual and her name is Anna Chapman. She's a Russian national, was a part of a group of Russian sleeper agents who were operating in the United States under the deep cover. And what she was known for? Well, before she was arrested and extradited in Russia, she was known for her socialite lifestyle and her use of online platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook to connect with influential individuals. Chapman is believed to have used her charm and conversation skills to engage with the high-profile individuals, of course in various industries, including finance and politics. Do you really believe that Anna Chapman done this just because has nothing else to do, or just because she was a sleeper agent? Wrong. She is being trained what to do. That's the last stage of social engineering. However, entire modus operandi of social engineering has been done by her superiors in Moscow or maybe by the embassy in United States. But how she succeeded to extract so much information? She was leveraging her attractive, I want you to remember this, attractive appearance. She managed to gain access to events and circles that provided her opportunities to gather information. So, she is beautiful. Her interactions were the part of broader effort to develop connections with influential people who'd potentially provide her with sensitive information or facilitate her access to valuable networks. And they did. While we don't know what's the full extent of her activities, that remains largely unknown. The case of Anna Chapman showcases how social engineering and the art of conversation can be employed by spies to establish the trust, gather information, and further intelligence objectives. Welcome to the podcast Life the Battlefield. Today I'm going to teach you from my point of view, from my knowledge and personal experience, what is social engineering. So let's go dig deep into this topic now. What is the information? I want you to understand that information is the commodity. Information has the value which can be tangible or intangible. Whether it is a complex data sets stored in a cloud or partially formed idea that has yet to be seen or heard by anyone else. All information can be traced to the same means of production: humans. All the information we take for granted exists directly or indirectly because individuals, not the hardware or software. Social engineering, as it applies in human intelligence and cybersecurity, is the art of using manipulation as well as strategic deception and coercion to extract information from a target. Corporate entities, in other hand, and globalized society have embraced a so-called network society, and they assume that networking is a must for success. However, pay attention, most businesses do not have risk management process capable of preventing social engineering attacks, which have grown in sophistication and popularity with the rise of today's hyper-connected world. The COVID-19 crisis has altered the structure of society to favor social engineers who have changed tactics in response to the decline of physical meetings and centralized workforces to instead prey on a far more vulnerable targets. Who they are? People working from home. Now, social engineering has long been an element of tradecraft across the field of human intelligence. However, but for the last 40 years, social engineering conducted in cyberspace has become a major part of intelligence and counterintelligence cycle. That's correct. Today, navigating social engineering is an indispensable organizational KIN. What does that mean? It's a key intelligence needs. Why is information important? Well, the importance on the value of information, source information, you must understand that information has a value. It can be tangible or intangible. Information can be stored or simply be an idea, but all information has a source. And as I mentioned this before, the root source of that information is typically a person, not a computer or software or hardware, human. And in today's DNA, data becomes the most valuable commodity in the world. Data. Information in its purest form is raw, unrefined material and remains so until it has been distributed orally, verbally, written or stored. I want you to understand following information I'm going to share with you. Raw information will sooner or later become the part of intelligence cycle. Just to take that mystery of intelligence and counterintelligence cycle, there's two types of cycles when it comes to collecting intelligence and information and how to analyze them, and there's 5 or 6 steps I can share with you down in the comment section. I'm going to put for both of you to understand what is intelligence and what is a counterintelligence cycle, both of them. And based on intelligence cycle, we need to connect ourselves with a source of information somehow, somewhere. Is that a technical intelligence? Is that a satellite intelligence, geospatial, or in our case, it's a human intelligence. And information becomes the part, that raw information of intelligence cycle. That information needs to be explored further. That's we say it's a raw information. And without information, intelligence of any kind would not exist. Do you agree with me? Our identity and construction of self as individuals, members of communities and social groups is dependent on information. Our exposure to the information ecosystem commences the moment you open your eyes. And this illustrates that information is not only about parcels and documents, but the subjective interpretation of reality, what we perceive and think about what we perceive as individuals 24/7. As well, when we talk about social engineering, you need to understand there is somebody who is called person of interest, POI. And that is a part of social engineers' research process, and it's objective-based an analysis of previously identified informations and decision-making process. Social engineering doesn't exist without person of interest. So person of interest, it's the person. Self-explanatory. We don't need to mess a lot with that one. It can be you, me, and anybody else in any type in the moment in our life. And why is that? Because somebody, somewhere, somehow comes in possession of the raw information about something, some product, some weapon. Perhaps you are glorifying somebody and they come across your name. Then you become the person of interest, but not the target of social engineering. You need to understand there's a person of interest and there's a target. Now let's go deeper into types of information sources. There's many experts who's going to tell you how many sources exist. It's a very few. Number one, it's open source. What is that? It's social media, newspapers, radio, TV, electoral office, chat, social, business networking, controlling our ever-expanding digital footprints. And most importantly, open sources are not paid sources. I want you to understand, when you go in a library and you quote somebody or something from the library and you don't pay it, it's called open source and you can use as much as you want. In contrary, there's something that's called closed sources. All sources that are restricted to the public, including material categories as a classified, top secret, and it's usually stored in a very ostensibly safe place. Sometimes also guarded or protected by technical, mechanical, human or legal countermeasures in order to restrict access. And every unauthorized access to this kind of information is illegal. Doesn't matter how much you pay, doesn't matter how much you got approval. If belongs in this category, it's illegal. Do you understand? When something is guarded, being categorized, and feel free to ask question, I'll answer to you. It's illegal. And that is social engineering's cornucopia. And it's typical this kind of information that cyber threats will seek to elicit directly or indirectly from their targets. Third category, it's off-the-record information. Wow. Okay, I'd like to clarify something with you. There is no such a thing off-the-record information. When a journalist comes to you or, somebody comes to you from any level of society, any part of society, individually or group, and says, it's off the record. Yeah, really? It doesn't really exist. No, it doesn't exist. It's something was called the privilege between the client and lawyer. Yeah, that's something different. It's something what belongs between the doctor and the patient. Yes, but it's a closed source. But when somebody comes to you, let's go say journalist and says, give me off the record name of Mario Bekes podcast, and you say, look, don't quote me, everything else. Guess what's going to happen in a court? They need to tell you, they need to disclose your name because it's not protected source information. It's off the record. It doesn't exist. It's a human invention. If you don't agree with me, feel free to ask any legal professional. However, this kind of information does not have a clear legal definition, and there is no such a thing off the record, as I say. Hence, information provided in conversation is open to interpretation, exploitation, and if necessary, can be used in a court of law as evidence. That's correct. Anything posted online is there forever. In cyberspace, anything said is rarely ephemeral. And this is particularly important to recall given that we now rely so heavily on CMC instead of face-to-face meeting. That brings us to definition and explanation. What is truly social engineering? So, what is social engineering? Failure to protect secrets has widespread ramifications, and the perils posed must be addressed. Industrial espionage has been in the news again recently with the various reports about Chinese companies who are doing, mobile phones, spying and eavesdropping. At a time when businesses are investing billions in data protection, are they overlooking some of the most basic forms of intelligence gathering devices? Humans. One way or another, people are often responsible for a loss, often inadvertently. Military intelligence has long used activities often termed social engineering. And that's how I learned that craft. And that is to capture source of information. let's go a little bit in history. You can check on my channel. There's a video about very well-versed lady called Hari Mata Hari. And what she did, she used her body, again, she's attractiveness, her exotic dancing, and French officers and British officers, they were opening their mouths and they talk. You know what I mean? There was not in First World War so much counterintelligence, intelligence. It was in development heavily, and that's how they're learning on mistakes. But Hari Mata Hari, by using her exotic dancing, her attractiveness, what she did, she was spying for the Germans. She was allegedly in love with one of the German officers, and she helped him. But checking that video I built and done about Hari Mata Hari, and that's how things starts. With the shift of the network society and our increasing dependence on network technologies, social engineers is conducting with staggering frequency online, and it's usually one of the first steps in the cyber kill chain. Social engineering in cybersecurity refers to tactics used to trick people into revealing their sensitive information or taking unsafe actions. And in Australia, we can see this, it's multiplying on a daily basis. Social engineering is therefore fundamentally about coercion, deception, manipulation, and decision making. Social engineering has designed to have outcome prior commencing any activities. So for successful social engineering, we must have the good story. Remember I told you, personal interest. And we know what we want from that personal interest. That personal interest becomes the target. And how we gonna extract that, what we want from that other person. We need to have the good story. Sometimes called a legend in human intelligence or narrative in information and narrative warfare. Story must start with one upon a time, then continue with unicorns and princesses. Not. Stories require without doubt. Stories embedded into human society, and regardless how short or long story, is requiring capturing the interest from the opposite party. Same as a public speakers. You know, when they come on a stage, why they mumbo jumboing same things over and over again? I tell you why, because that's the day storytelling. They want to capture your attention. They know how to do it by sharing their story. Well, in human intelligence and social engineering, that is not possible. That story, it must be captivating instantly. And how that can be achieved? That can only be achieved if story is based on some facts, no opinions. And facts are determined when target profile is created. Only then the deceiver will be successful. Story must have reader response after all and after involving target or person of interest into story. Communication will lead into more detailed and plain conversation. What person of interest can discover that the deceiver is lying, thus planning for the story must be immaculate. You know, I remember my personal experience. The people who will be approached to the personal interest or target, that story has been rehearsed and has been dealt for so long on so many levels that other person had no clue, has been interrogated in first couple minutes. Now, you need to understand who is the person you're talking to. So like I try to find a better wording for this one. Once when you are approached to personal interest or target, not every person of interest or target will engage in conversation. So you need to rehearse that one as well. Now, you need to understand somebody how to manipulate, because that's what it is. You manipulate them into the conversation. You need to know their homework, life, work boundary. You know what I mean? You need to know their behavior. You need to know many details about them. However, what has happened in 2020 to 2022 is that we had a thing called work from home. And for the many countries, key intelligence needs was collecting the data about capabilities of one country. And that can be about the police, about military, about products, softwares, and need to understand how to know. And when we go online, and I said this so many times, when we online, what's happening online stays online. Many countries, they have the sponsored departments who are doing the dirty job, right? They're engaging the private hackers, they're engaging private entities, so they can wash their hands. We don't know. And what they need to know, it's decision of the country. How to know, it's they identify the profile, personal interest or target. And now they both fitting into this intelligence or counterintelligence circle. And social engineering then goes into full swing. So I want to illustrate this to you on my example. I was in Singapore while I was working, and I was being approached by the truly gorgeous, beautiful lady, and I knew that this something's wrong straight away. But I was much more young. I was very keen. I was stepping out of the academy. But I was in a foreign country, in a foreign territory, with a lady who perfectly knew some things about me. And there was no social media in 1998. But she knew quite a lot about me, so I knew that some information is coming from inside of my workplace. I disengaged with that conversation, and I was afraid that this will not end up well. A few months later, I learned that some of my colleagues has been found in different country, dead. And interesting enough, on a footage being obtained from CCTV on the street, that same blonde lady approached my colleague several months later in a different country. So social engineering can be very dangerous. It's not just a chit-chatting. But let's go talk about target profile. A target can be individual, group, company, organization, and each of these targets can be named differently for the purpose of social engineering or misleading and deceiving third parties. Elements for target profile can be adjusted as per requirement. However, as mentioned before, it's important for social engineering to work that the story be filled with the facts, the limitation of cyber threat intelligence, and the realities of individualization. Groups have completely different factors that inform their behavior to individuals. Understanding if your adversary is a target or target is critical. That's two different things. When target profile has been created, it is important to have the following key parts, and based on a key part story be designed and rehearsed. Key objective in this section is important to elaborate why target will be approached. Why? You need to understand what is your key objective. Why you want to approach that person? What do you want to? What's the outcome? That's what it is. Then you have the person details, not just the name or surname, but the entire biography of the target from multiple sources. Business details includes work, company, associate, etc. Physical environment, that's social media, intelligence, or any other type of surveillance you can use, physical surveillance. Now, at the end, analysis and story design, and target planning and social engineering actioning. Now, once when this is being created, you need to thinking about your thinking. And what does that mean? That when you create a story, you need to rehearse a story on so many different ways, different levels. And physical environment, that means utilizing social media, intelligence, or any other type of surveillance. You know, the guys who follows you day and night, or girls, or whatever it is, they're recording the video from you or your behavior, who you're seeing, what you're doing, what time you getting out of the bed sometimes, you know. Don't forget one thing, when is intelligence conducted, called an intelligence collection, it's not like a police. Police needs to go and take the approval from the judge, right? You know, the court needs to approve of eavesdropping, and so it can be utilized on a court of law. When it comes to intelligence agencies, they don't do this stuff, you know. They don't go to judges and say, listen, can we get a court order, we can do the surveillance? They don't care. That's the reason why the intelligence agencies, they have a different approach. And I heard definition long time ago. To be the spy, you need to be man of credibility, reputation, but you need to be prepared to be the criminal. Is that correct or no? I'll leave to you to judge. Now, once when you have all this data about person, environment, and list goes on, you need to have the story design. And that story has been rehearsed over and over again. And how this happen actually? Well, then the working group, determine when you're going to be approached. So don't forget one thing. You have no idea what's happened to you. Now, you can travel on a train, on a bus, go in a gym, go buy coffee. Then the magic happens. Somebody will approach you for different reason. It's going to engage you in conversation. And then you will start talking. And there is no password. There is no mechanism can prevent and stop human to interacting with a human, except if it's not a part either of counterintelligence cycle while being trained and spot the problem. Social engineering, it's real. It's happening. Always and anywhere, without any signs of warning. And I can guarantee you, it is always going to be successful. So guys, next time when you're being approached by somebody, just think twice. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment. And let's go learn from each other much more better. Thank you.